already did it. With the subs up, you better listen. Coming up, but ain't no competition. Nah, I ain't tripping. All the boys got 'em moving to my flow. Now the girls got 'em dropping low. Going through the most, cause they ain't afraid to grow. Coast to the coast, I'ma hit your radio. Feeling bad every day. I know that. Now I'm finally on my way. I know that. I've been on my grind, I've been feeling myself. I do it all for me, not for nobody else. I'm looking what I see. Hit different. When a little mama got a big vision. Hit different. Aiming high, baby, I go the distance. I've been putting in work, putting in time, putting me first. Now my whole life. Hit different. With the bang, ready. Hit different. Ooh, over there. Who's the hot one with the long hair? Looky. Ooh, that's me. Mirror, showing I'm a bad bitch. And I don't see the girl that I felt. So down and out on the self. A total mind and body globe down in every cell. Living it up. And I'ma go and killing it cause it's just what I do. Dreaming about it every day. I know that. Now I'm finally on my way. I know that. I've been on my grind, I've been feeling myself. I do it all for me, not for nobody else. I'm looking what I see. Hit different. When a little mama got a big vision. Hit different. Aiming high, baby, I go the distance. I've been putting in work, putting in time, putting me first. Now my whole life. Hit different. With the bang. Bang. Boom, boom, boom. Bang. Boom, bada, boom, bada. Hit different. Boom. Bang. Boom, bada, boom, bada. Hit different. Coming in hot, I'ma get in it. Got you feeling that bass when I'm hitting it. With the bang. Hit different. When a little mama got a big vision. Hit different. Aiming high, baby, I go the distance. I've been putting in work, putting in time, putting me first. Now my whole life. Hit different. With the bang, ready. Hit different. Say imitation is the highest form of flattery. Well, I guess using that equation, you must really fucking love me. Now I can blame you on the shit. Check the fit. Got you maxing out the visa, trying to cop the vision. Trying to be, oh, but everyone can see you're the cheapo repo pizza, and I'm the Mona Lisa. You're talking while I'm walking by. Look a little green, I know you did. No, you won't want mine, so take my advice and get alive. Love me or hate me, but you're still super shady. Got my name on the daily, but you wanna be just like me. So fakey, want a piece of this cakey. I'm a superstar, baby. Yeah, you wanna be just like me. Wanna be, wanna be, wanna be just like me. Wanna be, wanna be, wanna be just like me. I just gotta be faced. Get up from my lane. I'm a Sachi overseas. I can't be replaced. I'm a shred. Check the fit. You're the cheapo repo pizza, and I'm the Mona Lisa. You're talking while I'm walking by. Look a little green, I know you did. No, you won't want mine, so take my advice and get alive. Love me or hate me, but you're still super shady. Got my name on the daily, but you wanna be just like me. So fakey, want a piece of this cakey. I'm a superstar, baby. Yeah, you wanna be just like me. Wanna be, wanna be just like me. Wanna be, wanna be, just like me. Wanna be, wanna be just like me. Look at me, I know you can't resist what you see. The curves, the heels, the hips. Hit your screen, and baby, now you're mine. Love on me, hate on me, you can get me off your mind. What I got to the top, all that body, yaddy. Some tryna cop how I pop, but they all look collie. I'll be tagging millies while you watch me. Sorry, but I ain't sorry. Stare all you want, get what you need. Just know the show is never free. Give me your good, ugly or bad, I still get the bag. Looky at my face, but you wanna taste. Got a lot to say, but you can't look away, babe. Sucky, hey, make you wanna play. Yeah, you wanna hit it good, wanna hit it like I'm clickbait. Like it, or you don't, I'm gonna get money, make it on the internet. You can call it fake, you can go and hate, but you wanna hit it good, wanna hit it like I'm clickbait. Clap, help me put my money in a big bag. You gon' get me paid. Put your hit and replay. Got my name in your tongue. Stepping all of this cake, make it eat it on crumbs. Do how I do it and let it do what it does. Love on me, hate on me, you can't get enough, baby. Got a black without a degree, got a mag 'cause I'm VIP. Run it back and you feel the heat. I play the game and y'all want it, so I ain't crying over comments. Stare all you want, get what you need. Just know the show is never free. Give me your good, ugly or bad, I still get the bag. Looky at my face, but you wanna taste. Got a lot to say, but you can't look away, babe. Sucky, hey, make you wanna play. Yeah, you wanna hit it good, wanna hit it like I'm clickbait. Like it, or you don't, I'm gonna get money, make it on the internet. You can call it fake, you can go and hate, but you wanna hit it good, wanna hit it like I'm clickbait. Ooh, it's a little sad, it's gotta be this way. That you're bitter with the mirror, so you come for me. Looky at my face, but you wanna taste. Got a lot to say, but you can't look away, babe. Sucky, hey, make you wanna play. Yeah, you wanna hit it good, wanna hit it like I'm clickbait. Like it, or you don't, I'm gonna get money, make it on the internet. You can call it fake, you can go and hate, but you wanna hit it good, wanna hit it like I'm clickbait. Clap, help me put my money in a big bag. You gon' get me paid. Clap, help me put my money in the fat stack. You gon' get me paid.
Welcome back to this channel, everyone. It's resident internet psychic medium and spiritual advisor, Mr. Rainn. Duchess has something that she would also like to say. Girl, you finish? You had a whole 8-hour intro to do this. Okay. How you guys doing? I heard not well. Batter body, heel toes in the comments. I heard you guys aren't doing well. What? Why? What's the problem? Hey, Mr. Rainn. Hey, laugh my ass off. We here. Well, I heard some people had a bad day. How was your day? My day was very interesting because at work, everyone was like collectively consoling each other. Now, I will say this. I don't actually have a problem with that, right? I don't have a problem with people collectively feeling sad and then talking to each other about it. But it was very interesting to watch on account of my blackness, right? They were like, oh my God, it's just how are you doing? How are you? And when I tell you it took everything in me to not be like, well, I'm black. I'm fine. Also, I've been trying to tell you, all right? I've been trying to tell you guys, even people that I know in my real life, I was trying to tell them, look, I don't think it's going to go the way you think it's going to go. What? Really? No, let's have hope. I was like, look, I don't think it has anything to do with hope at this point. It's not going to go the way you would like it to go. So for me, I'm shocked that everybody else is shocked. Like, I'm not shocked. I have the gift of foresight. You know what I mean? I've been saw this shit coming and then told you I saw this shit coming. So I'm confused why suddenly you're shocked that the shit came. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Mystic Rainn. Hey, Tiffany. Michelle says, greetings all. In LA says, hi from Vegas. I can't, you know what? Forgive me because I'm accepting that I'm in my 30s and your girl may need to go to an eye doctor or invest in some readers. And I think I'm still working with a set of 25-year-old eyes. And I'm not, and I can't see worth a damn sometimes. Oh my gosh. Akeisha, you've been thinking about me all day. I was on point, right? Ram says, morning calls, had some heavy energy, collective, was not feeling it at work. Yeah, same. It was like real. And you know, in my day job, I also moonlight as HR. I don't know if that is ironic. I don't know if that should be on somebody's like, that should be in a skit somewhere on Comedy Central. But yeah, no, same. It was like super heavy energy. And I started the day like, good morning. And that was just not the time that people were on. Bad body, well, I'm black is the answer. Yeah, today's been better than I've been in a few years. Definitely better than most of Americans. It was so sad watching the result roll in. Really? You felt sad? Oh, when I was watching it roll in, I remember before the polls started closing, I remember thinking to myself, I'm going to get me a real comfortable pair of pajamas. I'm going to get me a couple snacks and a couple beverages, and I'm going to post up in bed, and I'm going to watch the shit that I said roll out. I remember thinking that. And so I was feeling amused watching it. Like from a perspective of like, I was trying to say this, right? Like I was just amused the whole time. And then when I like finally went to sleep, I remember thinking like, okay, well, when we wake up, they'll be finished with the song and the dance of it all. Me too. That's how I feel. I knew he was going to win. I'm just waiting for it to be over with already. It will be over, so don't worry about that part. I didn't take the results as hard because I was mentally prepared by what you predicted about it. See, and that was all I was trying to do. Like I always say to people, like some people say, oh, don't say that I'm scared. And I'm like, why? Like you should be, first of all, you should pay me for the gift I've just bestowed. Like, what are you doing scared for? I was a guest on a podcast called Black Girls Do Politics, which by the way, is a nonprofit that I also co-founded, but you know, plug, right? And but anyway, I'm not an active co-founder of it anymore. So they had me back as a guest. And so anyway, they were like, can you do an election like result prediction? And I was like, yeah, sure, but it's not gonna be your girl. And then they were like, wait, what? And then on the guest panel with me was also like a mental like health like expert. And they were like, no, oh my God, what are we going to do? I'm so scared. And I was like, well, come on, mental health expert. Like, let's come on, let's roll it back. Come on, like, let's ground for a minute. But I always find it really interesting when people say that it scares them what I say. Because for me, it's always like a feeling of like, great, thanks for letting me know that ahead of time. Because now I'm 10 steps ahead of everybody else. Like, great, thank you for giving me that information now because other people don't have it. And so now I can plot and plan in a way that benefits me because nobody else has it. Valerie says, yeah, today's energy was so heavy, even though I was fine. I could feel everyone else's energy. Yeah, it was super heavy. Crystal says, Mystic Family. Is that what it is? The Mystic Family? Because that would be the first time anyone ever suggested a group name. So I don't know. My state did a good job rejecting a terrible governor, so that was good news out of all of it. That's good. At least something came out of it. I didn't even watch it. I felt he would win. When I tell you, it was so bad watching that. like she didn't even kind of win. Like it's been a really long time since I've seen someone lose so badly to something. Like we we didn't even get a kinda out of it. Like it was like from the jump. Once they started counting, it was like she's done. Like there wasn't even a moment where it looked like it could flip back to the other side. See, oh, Batter Body says, I missed the prediction. You got to keep up, man. Michelle says, because you told us already. I did. So is he going to prison this term or not? So this is really interesting. So this is a Trump and a Vance thing. I'm going to tell you, I'm not worried about it, right? And I'm not worried about it, one, because this isn't finished, right? And two, there's an issue like energetically with the term, like with the term limit. Like, I actually think we're in a place where, like, I would be surprised if he made it to inauguration and he actually got sworn in. And if he does get sworn in, he's not completing a full term. Like, I don't see him going a full 4 years at it at all. 2 max. And that is like a feeling of like hanging on for dear life. Like, it's gonna get tripped up again. Something about it doesn't feel completed. It doesn't feel uh yeah, something about it doesn't feel complete. So like I think that there's a lot more energy in like the watch this space. And something about Vance, I don't know. I still don't see him in the White House. Now, there's a lot of reasons for that, right? But I don't. So when I look at like the VP position, I don't see Vance in it. I don't know if that's because he quits. I don't know if that's because he gets fired. I don't know if it's a situation because I also don't see Trump completing a full 4 years. Is it a case where Trump is out and then like Vance is actually the president and that's why I can't see him in the VP role? I'm not all that sure how it's going to like shake itself out, but I don't see him in the White House as VP. And I don't see Trump completing 4 years. And I think getting them to inauguration is going to be hell in itself. And I wouldn't be surprised if something happened and they weren't inaugurated or there was an issue at the inauguration or something like that. But something about the entire thing itself, it doesn't really feel like it doesn't feel complete. It doesn't feel like whole. Now for the prison, that I actually don't know. I don't actually have any hits on that, at least not as of yet. I don't know. I don't know how the system works either, right? Like, what do you do with the president-elect? Do they have immunity now or not yet? Is it until they're sworn in when they get immunity? I don't know. I don't have the slightest idea. She lost so hard. Nita says he's about to expire. Right, Crystal? It's not finished. Raven says, I chose not to be a voter. I want no parts of the energy. It comes with separate relationships and families right before holidays. Coincidence? Separate relationships and families right before holidays. Coincidence? I'm not sure what that means, sweetie. I don't know what that means. I also think too, like I understand like the voting thing because I also used to like work in like campaigns and I have a colorful background. But I used to also like work in campaigns and working in like that field, you come across a lot of people that feel both ways. You come across people that feel like voting is really important and some people feeling like I don't want to be a part of the noise. Nothing is getting done. It doesn't look productive. I don't see how you're helping me and I don't want to be a part of the noise, the fighting and all that kind of stuff, you know? So haha, losers can't face the hard facts. America has spoken. It was a gigantic red wave. It's time the Republicans clean up the mess and invasion treason of the Biden administration. Okay. Go off. Have you heard about the 20 million uncounted votes? I haven't heard about it. I wasn't paying attention to it. I'm sure there may be. Maybe. Who said it? Did Trump say it? Was it a fake news kind of thing that he was claiming? I don't know. Well, maybe he wouldn't say it because he won. So how does it benefit him? I don't know. I haven't been watching. I haven't been on social media. I was bored with the narrative and I was bored with the story. Yes, Raven. Then now you can look up people's voting history. Yes, you can look up people's voting history and whether or not they lean Democrat or they lean Republican, or you can look up what elections they tend to vote in most. Is it presidential? Is it gubernatorial? Yeah, you can see all that stuff. Are you at least optimistic about the next few years? I'm not. It's not a matter for me. I don't feel optimistic or pessimistic. I feel very neutral about it. The way the experience is feeling for me is I feel like an observer just kind of watching. Oh, you guys, this is metaphysical. This is a very spiritual thing that's actually happening right now. The reason why it's like so tense and it's like so heightened is because all right, I'm gonna talk a little bit of shit, okay? Here's the thing. And I'm gonna hold your hand when I say this, okay? Trump is the perfect representation for this country. I don't like Trump. I didn't vote for Trump. I'm not a Republican. I've always been Democrat, always voted Democrat, voted for Kamala. But Trump represents everything this country has always been and is still today. The racism, the bigotry, the misogyny, the sexism, the xenophobia, the homophobia, the hatred. Trump is the epitome of what this country is. Trump is the perfect representation of what this country is. And actually, in fact, what's happening is that Trump is serving as a mirror back to the country. And so people are upset because they're looking at themselves in the mirror and they're being confronted with what they are. Here's the thing, and I'm going to hold your hand when I say this. Did you forget how this country was created? This is not a country that was created with integrity. This is not a country that was created with morals and ethics. This is a country that was stolen by the indigenous, mass genocide and rape happened. We are missing an entire peoples because of how this country was founded. This country was built by people that were dragged out of Africa, put on a boat, enslaved. Am I missing something here? And we're surprised about who won? Trump is the representation of what this country is. He's the perfect representation of what this country is. Is he my representation? No. But is he the perfect representation? Yes. I think there's a misunderstanding. I think America as a unit thinks it's better and more well-behaved than what it actually is. Trump is a representation of collective ideology, of collective thinking, of collective action, of collective behavior. Trump is the representation of what this country is. And what's happening is people is fighting that. We want change. And I get it. I love it. I love change. I love growth. That's what I do. I'm Mr. Rainn. My whole life is dedicated to that, right? But you can't change that which you do not acknowledge, which is why he's the mirror. If you don't acknowledge what you are, what you do, what you are capable of doing, if you can't even see yourself the way the rest of the world sees you, why on earth would you think you're ready for change? People haven't gotten past the first Black president. You think there was gonna be a second one in the White House? This is metaphysical. And that's why I'm not worried about it. The reason why I'm not concerned is because this is not my metaphysical fight. My job is the observer. I have an ability to look at it, see it for what it is, and then break it down to the masses. Trump is a mirror. People say, I can't believe this happened. Why? The only thing that Trump does is say what we have a group of people, what they think. He says, and he demonstrates what people think, how people feel, the ideology. People say, I don't feel that way. You may not feel like that. But what about your grandpa? What's the shit he be saying at that Thanksgiving and Christmas table? Kamala never stood a chance. She never stood a chance. First of all, like just like human to human, person to person, when it comes to her, like I want to send her just so much love and so much grace. This Black woman got caught up in the war of egos between two old white men. She should have never been there. This woman was chosen as VP because Biden needed someone Black. She became a token. She took the job. I'm not faulting her for taking the job. It's a VP position. Why would you not take the job? I get it. But that man knew he should have never run for president. He knew when he didn't give up the seat from the jump that he was not equipped to be president again. He knew. And he had his ego. And his ego came before the country that he is currently serving. And everybody in DC was too scared to stand up to him. Am I mad at them for that? No, because what are you going to do? Stand up to your boss? You're in Congress. You're going to tell your boss to go quit? I mean, I get it. I'm not saying that they did a bad thing, but no one stood up to him. They all knew that he shouldn't have been running. And then when the public caught on to that, then they all banded together and then gaslit the public like we were crazy for saying, hey, maybe Grandpa Joe, you should go sit down. So now the public is in a war with this man's ego because he doesn't know how to go retire. He comes up unsuccessful. The only thing that they can do is get Kamala in because she's the only one that's qualified to deal with the money because campaign finance. And then she came in with only a few months, completely underfunded. You know they're underfunded. You want to know how they're underfunded? It's going to sound so petty, but those Harris wall signs, those blue flimsy ass paper ones, like how are those signs the cheapest looking fucking signs out of all of the electoral signs around all of the polling places? You're telling me the person running for the school district seat had better quality signs than the person running for goddamn president? That's an insight into what she was working with, which is not much. And now this woman has, depending on how you see it, a damaged reputation over some shit she probably didn't even want to do. She had to stand up and serve her country because she's vice president. Before taking over, literally like the Friday before the announcement, Grandpa Joe sat up on television, got mad and said that this woman was not qualified to be president. And this woman has to get up and do what Black women do every fucking day. Put a smile on her face and then act like the shit was okay. Her fucking career. Put her fucking career on the line. Because two old white men and their egos were at war. To have lost in the way she, honestly, it is nothing less than disrespectful. It's one thing. Could you imagine being in her position, like just for a second? Like if I lost that bad and I lost, right? Like I had an opportunity to run it myself and I lost. Okay. But that shit wasn't even my fucking race. That wasn't even my race. I stood up to serve the country because Grandpa Joe keep falling down, okay? And I gotta be here on national television. No. Worldwide television. And get my ass kicked in front of all of these fucking countries and then come out with a concession speech. And my thing is, like, you think it's gonna stop there for her? Because I'm telling you what's gonna happen to her in DC. They're gonna fucking turn her back on her. Because she was supposed to be the token. She was supposed to be the Black woman that became the savior. She did not save. And so they're gonna go look and find a new token. I don't understand why everybody else doesn't understand. I don't understand how people are confused about why Trump is president-elect again. I don't understand why people really believe that the United States is like some morally sound country. It's not. Like, and it never has been. And I don't ever think it wanted to be. Look how it was founded. So you have the energy of the country and how the country itself was founded. That energy is woven through the government, the documents the government writes up, the documents the the system writes up. That's why everything is unfair. That's why it always feels like things are being taken from people. That's how the country was founded. That is the founding energy of it. So it is the energy that courses through it and courses through each decision that it makes. And if you want change, the only way to change that is to look in the mirror and accept what it is. A piece of shit. People say, but this is the greatest country. No, it's not. There's a lot of countries with better quality living and healthcare and better education and school systems and more resources and pensions. There are a lot of countries that have figured out how to do it better. What the United States is, what it does well, is bully, which is why it's a superpower. The US is not a superpower because it's a saint, because it's a humanitarian. The US is a superpower because it's a bully and it's willing to take you out for not doing what it wants you to do. That's why it's a superpower. So the US is not like holding massive amounts of respect around the world. That's not what this is. Countries understand it's a superpower and understand why it's a superpower. Countries understand that it's a superpower because it utilizes hard power, i.e. military, instead of soft power, i.e. influence. Yes, my master's is in international security. Thank you. The US has always been on the bullshit. So the fact that there's going to be a president that is also on the bullshit does not surprise me, and I don't understand why it surprises anybody else. And you being scared or frightened doesn't do shit for anybody. You knew what time this country was on. I don't understand why you weren't prepared. You thought that woman had power to change this? Let's play with it. Even if she was elected, you think that they would have let her run the White House? Let's play with it. Let's really think this through. If she was elected, seriously, you think they would have let her run it? You think they would have let her make those executive decisions? You don't think that like Congress would be trying to veto her any chance they got? You think she was just going to be sitting up there all lovely passing bills and shit? Signing them? No. That was never going to happen. That was never going to happen. You think a country of men, who, by the way, I'm going to say it, and I'm going to hold your hand when I do this. We all know that men also are like innately made jealous of, envious of, intimidated by women in power. We know this. Aren't there more men over there than there are women? You think that they were just going to let her tell them what to do? Don't be daft. Wake up. That was never the reality. And what's happening is that now the reality that you created, which was really your imagination, right? And people are calling it hope. I had hope. I'm not here trying to crush hope. But what you had wasn't hope. It was delusion. This is America. This is what America has always been. There has never been a moment in history where the United States was better than this. There was never a moment in history where it was more well behaved than this. That was never a thing. I'm not crushing your hope. What I am doing is breaking the delusion that you were carrying. This has always been the reality. Now, what can you do? You can prepare yourself. You have information. Being scared isn't going to help you, because the problem with fear is that it paralyzes you. When you're in that space, you can't think, you can't strategize, you can't figure out how you're going to maneuver, you can't plot what your next move is going to be, because you're in this state of like, oh my God, what am I going to do? No, you've got information. You got information and you have a date. You have a date of when this man is supposed to be inaugurated, assuming he gets inaugurated, right? You have a date. That means you have a window to make a plan of what you are going to do. If you are a woman, you need to start making plans about what you're going to do if you get pregnant. You need to figure out what your route is. Figure out what state you're in. And if you got to leave, what state you're about to go to. You better figure out your route. You better figure out what flight that is, or train, or if you're driving, how far is it? How many hours it's going to take for you to get there? Because we know complications happen. Sometimes you need a doctor, but you have information, so plan. If you are a Black man or you are raising Black boys, don't let them leave the house without an honest conversation. If you get stopped, this is what you do. This is who you call. This is the order in which you call them. Start making empowered decisions. Understand that this is a temporary situation. The U.S. has done worse shit, and it has not fallen apart. Okay? The U.S. is not falling apart. You're the one that's falling apart. The U.S. is not falling apart. The U.S., in fact, is doing the same shit it's been doing. The only difference is with Biden in office, it just wasn't in the forefront, but it's always been doing this shit. It's not new shit, okay? And make empowered decisions. Get up. Put your big girl panties on. With the amount of shit that you've been through in life, you're going to fall because of that man. I got a problem with that. Come on. Let's pull it together. I got to go all the way up. Wait a minute. I'm going to go scroll all the way back up. God, I missed that much. Hold on. Let me go back. Judy says, it definitely feels spiritual, almost so spiritual to the point where it's not really my business, but something to observe and learn from. That is exactly how I feel. I feel like this mirror isn't for everybody, right? Like, that's not my mirror. I already knew that shit. Some of y'all didn't know it, which is why you're triggered by it, because it's very triggering to see yourself, right? It's very triggering to see those ideologies. And this is where it's really going to get some people, right? It's going to get the people who are like the people that are carrying the newer thoughts in their family. So you may have a family that may have like those old thinking, and maybe you're the younger one. So you have like the new, more inclusive thinking. This is going to come up and it's going to trigger you, because it's going to show how all of those old thoughts and those people in your family actually have contributed to your foundational thinking. And so even if you're in a place in life now where you're like, actually, no, I don't want to believe those things don't resonate with me, you're going to be confronted with your foundational thinking. And so it may feel like it's like fighting with each other. Truth. Yep. Yes, ma'am. Preach. You're welcome. It was created by criminals. They were like outlaws. They weren't even like, and they were young. They were like 18, 17 years old. They were kids. Like, they weren't even like hold on. How old was Benjamin Franklin? I feel like he was 17. Is that one of the founding fathers? Wait a minute. Like, I don't, yeah, founding father of the United States. How old was he? Because I feel like he was like 17 years old when the whole thing went down. His lobe, his frontal lobe wasn't even fully developed. Okay. Reflection of the undereducation of the masses. Yeah, people were saying Kamala winning was in the stars. I'm confused on what to believe. Yeah, so it was, right? The way I don't necessarily call it the stars, the way I describe it is like a timeline, and she had a timeline. That's the only way she was able to get so far. When people get to the end, and you got two people left, and that's like running for something like president, they've both got the highest timelines, and so there is a timeline in which she would have won, right? But that timeline would have been depending on the collective consciousness and where it was. Was it in a place where it was ready to accept what it was, learn what it was in order to then transform what it was? You can't transform when you don't know what you're transforming. Like that, like when you think about like the healing journey, you don't heal shit that you don't know needs to be healed. It's only after you get an awareness of like, oh, here's the problem, that you can then go about the process of doing something about it. She could have won, right? But you have to think about Donald Trump's story. He just has a heavier timeline in the sense of like, one, he was already president. He ran again. He didn't get it, but like the fact that he could do everything that he did, be the criminal that he is, have all of these open cases, be like, I mean, he's like a 36-time felon or something like that. He is an abuser. He is a sexual abuser, right? He can do all of these things and then get all the hearings pushed back until after the election just to see if he would win. Like Trump, this is metaphysical, and his part to play in the whole thing. He actually has a very big, like, metaphysical, spiritual role to play. Like, Trump is the mirror. Like, for a country, that's a massive role to play. Like, Biden isn't a mirror. To be quite honest, I don't even think I would go so far to saying that like Obama was a mirror. Now, Obama was a representation of what could be, which is why, and he had his role. He also had like a metaphysical role. He was an example. That was when the universe goes in. We're just going to give you this so you see what the options are. You can do what you want to do with it. You don't got to keep it, right? So he was an example of what the options were. And then people decided what option they preferred. That's all. But like that man is a mirror. He's very powerful spiritually. He's a mirror. And then also too, people in Hollywood do be lighting candles. I don't know if y'all know this. I'm not saying he be lighting candles. He may. I don't know. But he's got spiritual backing. I'm going to say I'm not entirely sure what kind of spiritual backing, but he's not moving himself. That he's got a lot of metaphysical spiritual force that's behind him. Oh, that's what I mentioned earlier. The election will have effects on families during holidays. I wanted to know if you think they planned it that way and purposely. I actually don't have the slightest idea. Not the slightest. Never thought about it, to be quite honest. Judy says, got her for the votes and sat here in the back. We haven't heard from her his whole term until she took over and won the election. She definitely didn't stand a chance. I know. But I do remember, God, how long ago did I say this? I think, was it the beginning of I got to go back in the video. I got to go back in the video archive. But like very like in the beginning of his term, I remember like saying on YouTube that at some point in time, she was going to be more prominent and she was going to have a much larger role to play in the administration, yada, yada. And then years went by, obviously, and she was so quiet and we didn't hear from her. And I was like, I don't know why I got that. And it wasn't until the very end where she popped out and all this crap popped off. Tiffany says, PSA, Mystic, I pre-ordered your book. I can't wait to start my tarot career. Oh, hey, people that pre-order the book, they get like a free ebook. Now, it's not the ebook version of the book. That has actually been a question that came up. Good question, actually, by the way. It's a different ebook, but get a free ebook if you want it. Just shoot me an email with like proof of purchase, and I'll go ahead and I'll send it to you. By the way, guys, here's the book. The Fool's Guide to Tarot. Head over to Amazon and get your copy. By the way, for those of you that don't know, Amazon has an algorithm, okay? And how where the book, I hate it too, where the book ends up sitting is a lot of the times based on how it does in pre-order. So like if it does well in pre-order, the algorithm will kind of put it higher up. If it does pretty bad in pre-order, it'll kind of drop it down. And, you know, it'd be best if it's higher up. Yes. Get it. It's out now. And then it's out on the 26th. Judy says, I hope she spends the next 4 years building a relationship with the American people on her own and run again at her own will. That just threw her out into a hostile environment. So what I see for her, unfortunately, is I don't actually see the presidency in her future at all. This time, next time, 4 years from now, 8 years from now, I don't see it. Unfortunately, I think she's ended up what I'd like to call the curse. There's this thing that happens. I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but if you run for president too many times and you're not successful, or if you are a vice president, it seems like it becomes a lot harder for them to become president in the future. They have to work really, really hard. Like even with Biden, if his stars didn't align the way it did at that time, it wouldn't have worked out for him. It only worked out for him because people were desperate and they were like, we don't know who else to pick. And he's the only person that people know. But like, if you're unsuccessful, like the most someone has, like in terms of runs at it, is 2. If you are unsuccessful 2 times, that's it. That's kind of it. Now, what I see for her, unfortunately, is that the next 2 to 3 years is going to be a bit rough for her. Because like when the term is over, like you guys realize, right? It's not like she like has a job in Washington. Like that's thank God for the pension that they get. You know what I mean? But like, what is she gonna do? Go back to being senator? Like she's out, you know what I mean? And it's not that she's not gonna have like influence anymore, but like it's definitely things are gonna change for her. And I think it's gonna be like a 2 to 3 year period where she's going to be readjusting. She's gonna be like healing from the trauma and the experience of it all. But I also think that like I do get a sense that some people are going to turn their back on her that are in that camp because that's how they are. They're very cliquey in that camp and they only side with people that can get them places. And unfortunately, if it's a situation where you like lose your campaign, how are you going to give them a job? It's not like you're in a position where you can employ them. Or, you know what I mean? And so what happens is that suddenly the people that followed you, they start to drop off. That's how it works over there, you know? So I kind of feel for her in that sense because I'm like, oh gosh, like as a human, like human to human, like I hope someone has really given her a whole lot of love and like loving on her and hugging up on her because, oh my God. But what I do see for her is that she'll have a different kind of rise. I see her rising, but I see it being more like in media, maybe entertainment kind of thing. Like what I'm seeing, I'm seeing her on TV and stuff like that, like on TV screens and stuff. So I'm seeing her kind of go more so in that kind of direction. Not immediately though, like in a couple of years, like 2-3 years. And maybe it'll be like some kind of production thing. Maybe she'll go into production, but it'll be more creative work is where I see her going. There's only 3 countries in the world the US hasn't invaded or has had military presence. Big bullies. Yeah, you be cracking me up. You know, I be cracking myself up. You should see the kind of conversations I have by myself. You guys ever get so into like a self convo that you start responding to yourself out loud? You'd be like, what? Where'd that happen? And you're just talking to yourself. Half the time you just be making shit up. The same way they did Obama. Thank you so for waking us up. You're welcome. Hello, Mystic. Hey. Get that spiritual protection up alongside the practical things. I'm actually going to raise you one on that one and say, I don't necessarily think that I mean, I'm not going to say don't get your spiritual protection up if you feel like you got to do that. Go do that. Actually, while we're talking about it, but I don't feel like it's that deep. I know it may sound like, what? That man just went. I don't think it's that deep. It's not everyone's journey and it's not everyone's story. Like, look, there's a series of collectives, right? If something about this experience is not resonating with you, it's not your collective. It's not your lesson to learn. Sometimes our job, we just observe other people learn their lessons, right? But what ends up happening is that because so many of you guys are like empaths and you want to fucking feel everything, you start misunderstanding, thinking that somebody else's lesson is in your lesson, right? Just because you are an empath, you can sense it, you can feel it, you then misunderstand it, thinking that it's your lesson, not realizing that it's their lesson. That shit was Trump. That ain't got shit to do with me. Okay. I'm gonna hold your hand when I say this. That's a white people lesson. I said it. White people, I'm so sorry. I love you. I know you're here. This is actually a very diverse audience. But that's not for us. That's not it. Trump doesn't do shit but reveal the shit my ancestors been knew. Okay. That's not for me. I'm just here to watch. We're just watching how it works out for you. Right. But that's not my lesson. So what am I protecting myself from spiritually? If it's not my spiritual lesson, that's not mine. Right. But we end up thinking that it's ours. And this is like not just like an election thing that's related. We have a tendency to do this in our lives with like friends or like family. Right. You see them going through a hard time. And because you're an empath, because you can sense and feel all these energies, you think it's your energy and then you take it and you internalize it. Then you now suddenly feel like you're responsible for it. And then you start claiming it as your thing. And now you're like working through this thing, trying to figure out why it's so difficult. It's hard because it wasn't your thing to work through. Like you may need to go give it back. You know what I mean? He's speaking the truth. Just got back from a beauty product sale. I got good food from my friend's house and I catch you live. It's a good evening. Good. The Democratic campaign felt like a cart on rickety wheels so bad. It's not even, it's embarrassing. If they don't do a serious revamp, they'll be benched for a long time. What they need to do is clean house. The issue, I'm going to tell you what the issue, and I'm going to hold your hand when I say this. It's clicks. That I used to work in that field. It's clicks. And it's the same clicks year after year. It's the same group of people, and you would be amazed at how small the group really is. It's clicks. It's a group of people. Half of them don't really know what they're doing. They're there riding the coattails of other people that may look successful. That's literally how it is. Like if people get a whiff that you're somebody that people may stand behind and that you may be somebody one day, they will latch on to you like a leech and they will ride it. And then so much so that you will be working with the same people for like decades. And you would think because you've worked together for so long, you've been in the trenches together, you think that they got your back, right? What happens? You go, I'm going to go try to run for something. You pull them in. You've worked with them for a long time. You've grown to trust them. They got your back. You lose. Suddenly, you don't know where the fuck they went. That's what they're doing. That's how it works. They jump. It's just bandwagoning. There's not. None of them are real leaders. They're all a bunch of followers. Really. They're all a bunch of followers. They're not true leaders. And that's why it feels like the country is never being led, because no one is fucking leading anything. Because they're scared, like, that's not, it's just when it's bogus. Like, if you knew the people that worked in those fields, you would think it's more bogus than what you already think that it is. Like, it's just ridiculous. It'll be like Hillary, she fade, but then she'll be perfectly fine. Her and her husband. Yeah. Even that Hillary one was wild. I almost expect a book from her in about 3 years. She'll probably will. I wouldn't be surprised if she has a book deal right now. I would not be surprised. And the reason why I say that is because it would have been smart to time it for like around inauguration. Because regardless, she would have either been like inaugurated, or she would have been completing a term. And so she still would have been like, I guess, in her prime. I don't really know what other word to use. Yeah, I hope she's glad to be free. I don't know. She'll be all right. That's a good way to put it. Yep. Yes, it is that part. Diversity and inclusion. I'm completely unbothered. Same. I meant protection because violence might be up from the cops. Okay. And the rad white supremacists, they always doing too much outside. Then stay your ass inside. This is what I mean. You have information. You know they're going to be outside. So what do? It's the same shit that my mom used to say to me. Like when like the kids would be out, and it'd be like the bad kids, right? When the bad kids would be outside playing, I used to be like in the window wanting to go outside, and she'd be like, "Go sit your ass down." Like, stay away from certain areas that you know that they be in. Stay out of sundown towns, right? Like, don't be hanging out in Trump country if you can't avoid it. If you can't avoid it, keep your ass inside. Like, there are things you can do while you're waiting for it to energetically die back down. So much hand holding. No need to hold my hand. That's their problem. I'm not even a US citizen, right? It's crazy. Our hands are really warm during this life. Yeah, I remember you saying that about her playing a larger role. Yeah. It's unfortunate that it became what it was, but I do see her like having prominence. And I actually see her having more prominence than Clinton. She's gonna have to just go into a rest like period while she like regains energy and strength. Like they really did her dirty. They really did. But I also do to think that like this whole experience is a really good lesson of learning what is yours and what's not yours, right? Learning what is your lesson and what's not your lesson. Learning the difference between observing and absorbing, right? Because just because we have a collective reality, that does not mean that our realities are the same, right? Like, we have agreed to a collective reality, but there are different realities that happen inside of the collective reality, right? So you and I share a collective reality. That is how we have an ability to connect right now with each other. But like, my reality is not your reality, and your reality is not my reality. Just like how some of you woke up unbothered, and then there's some people that were really bothered. Those are different realities. Those are actually like different collective realities within the overall collective reality, if that makes sense, right? And like, that's also like how timelines work. So you have your timelines going, and then what ends up happening is that you may have a moment when they cross, and then that meeting point when they cross is the moment you have an opportunity to then experience, right? So like, using us as an example, right now we're in a meeting point, but my timeline is probably going that way and your timeline is probably going that way. We're just crossed right now in this meeting point, which is why we have an ability to experience each other. When this cross and this meeting point is done, right, you will have absolutely no idea what I do after I get off this live. Like literally that whole part in the middle between like the live and then when I go live again, there is no like mystic Rainn, so to speak, right? Because you're in a different reality. Mystic Rainn only becomes part of your reality when it like crosses. Does that make sense? And so when it comes to like this election, it's just timelines crossing each other, right? We're meeting up at a certain point, but then once that point is done, you're going to go one way, somebody else is going to go a different way. We think that we're all going the same way together with each other at the same time. And so there's an assumption that everyone's having the same experience. But like that's just like not the case, right? And so it's also possible that people can be absolutely distraught and you're like, "What? I don't really understand what's going on," because it's not the same reality. You can perceive them being distraught because you're crossing at that moment, but it's not the same reality, right? Like I'll give you an example. Like sometimes I'll come across people and they're like, "Life is hard," right? And I'm like, "Really? That sucks." Tell me how it works out for you. Right? Not my reality. Why? Because I don't like hard shit, right? Even when, like, let's say I'm in a season in my life where my money isn't flowing as much as I would like it to be flowing. Like, I'm not going to try to make that period harder than it needs to be. I actually would go the opposite way and say, how can I make this period easy? What things can I do to ease up the energy, the stress, the burden? How do I make it easy? Right. And so, and I live my life like that because I genuinely don't think things have to be hard. I'm someone, I don't believe that like you have to like break bones to get things. Right. And I think there's a lot of examples that demonstrate that that's the case. But I think it's a choice of whether or not you want that to be your reality, right? So sometimes I'll have friends and then they got their timeline and I got my timeline and we cross up and that meeting point is brunch. And they're like, life is hard. And I'm like, really? That sucks. That doesn't sound great to me. I don't really want to experience that. I'm going to continue with my reality. I'm going to keep going on my timeline. I'm going to keep going in that direction. But let me know how that direction is working out for you, right? And that's what's happening in this like election. It doesn't have to be a collective experience. Just because somebody else around you is like having a hard time, you can choose that that's not going to be you. You just say, I don't want to have a hard time. I don't want this to impact me like that. And so I'm going to choose not to impact me like that. I've got information, right? I now know what's going on. Let me do a quick Google search to see if this can potentially impact me and how. And because I have information and then I also have a window of time between things go into effect, let me now start brainstorming things that I can do to make it easy, to lift things up. So it doesn't feel so heavy, so it's not so dense. Things don't have to be hard. Do you see the results being overturned? No, I don't see it like that. It seems more like it feels more like a legal thing, like semantics. Like someone finds a clause and it's a certain kind of wording and someone goes, "Oh, but the way this is worded, this can't be," something like that. And so it's not necessarily overturned. Maybe just considered invalid, something like that. But not I don't see like a big judicial like overturning. Any cheating? I mean, yes, no, I don't know. I don't know. Yes, it does make sense. Good. Sounds like the Schrodinger cat. God, why you guys be saying things that like I don't know? Now I gotta Google it. Schroeder is a famous thought experiment that it demonstrates the idea of quantum physics that tiny particles can be in two states until one. Yes, at once until they're observed. That's so it. Yeah. It feels awkward when that happens with people you're close to. Well, it's going to happen to people you're close to because there's not many people that you're on the same timeline with. At best, you may come into contact with people in your life where you're on parallel timelines. So much so you have an ability to observe each other, to perceive each other, but everyone's timeline is different. And like this goes for like all family, your parents, if you have siblings, if you are married or you're in a long-term relationship, everyone has different timelines. None of it's the same. They may overlap and crisscross from time to time here and there, but everyone's timeline is different. I don't even know what to say to them because if I feel like they wouldn't get it and act like I am crazy. They also too may not get it, right? I think there's two ways of looking at it because I've gone through this too, and then one of my coaches called me out and then I had to grow, right? But essentially what was said to me was if you are was it a coach? Who called me out? Somebody called me out. I don't remember who it was. But essentially what they were like is like how unfortunate is it that you like deprive someone the gift of who you are, like who you truly and authentically are, like how unfortunate is that, right? Um and that got me really thinking like differently in terms of like how I show up in different situations or like different relationships with people. That made me question whether or not I show up at all, and then that made me question whether or not that's fair to me, and then also whether or not it's fair to the other person. You know, like our job, part of this is like our job is just connection, right? Why is it connection? We are all one. We are all aspects of all that is. We are just a specific focus of all that is, right? But we are all that is. We are all the creator. We are all source. I'm just a specific focus of that source, and you are a specific focus of that source. That's what makes us different. But we are the same. That's why like people are connected telepathically, why you can pick up on other people's past and futures because it's all one thing. It's all coming from the same place. It's all us, right? And so because of that, that makes one of like the biggest sort of missions for us. It doesn't have to be a life purpose. We don't have to be that serious. If you want it to be, have it be. If you don't, then don't, right? But one of like a big mission for all of us is figuring out how to connect with self, but also figuring out how to connect with our environment, with the universe, with each other, because all of it is source. It's us. It's all us. And so if we are not connecting, we are missing out on that piece of us, right? And so I don't know. Recently, I've developed a different perspective on like how I show up when I feel like people don't get it, right? I think I am someone, surprisingly, who can be a very sort of wave of the hand kind of person. Like, I'm not interested. But, am I going to change it? Probably not. But do I think it's worth an awareness? Probably. Probably. Because it does impact how you show up. And if you really, really love the person and you really, really care about them, do you think that maybe approaching it that way would deprive that person of having the gift and the experience of who you truly and authentically are? And then at that point, if they're like, I hate this, then fine, But maybe they don't. What if they loved it? What if they loved you? A lot of the times we approach it from the perspective of thinking that we're going to be hated first or that we're going to be misunderstood first. And maybe we are misunderstood first, but what if there's a second, right? Like, what if there is a whole phase after the initial misunderstanding? What if it doesn't end that way? I just want to leave you with that. Yeah, 2016 broke my little teenage heart, but then I was all right. Can't keep letting politics drag. They be dragging themselves. They really do. Honestly, what it is, politics too is also a mirror. It's just a mirror of like power and like how power works, which is really interesting because you oftentimes get the most insecure people that end up in power, which is why you get so many. Like that's why you look at them and you're like, why are you like that? like, why are you making all these like authoritarian, like dictatorial laws? Like, why are you like that? It's because they're insecure. Because the thing with power is that like you you have it already. Like, I mean, you're the creator. Like, you have the power, but people don't realize that. And so they spend their entire life trying to take it, but then they can never quite grasp it, which is why they're so graspy, right? But like, there's nothing to grab because you have it already. So you're grasping, 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 and then you feel like you're coming up empty and it's not working. It's because you're trying to find something outside of yourself that's already within you, but you haven't yet recognized that it's in yourself. Because the one thing about power is that you don't actually like need to take it. You already have it. What people are really looking for, and they don't know this, is that they're looking for respect. They want to be appreciated. Maybe they want to be, I don't know, honored, right? But like people give that to you naturally. If you are someone that's like respectable, you you radiate an air of respect and people just respect you naturally, but like people don't know that. They think they have to get power and then they spend their whole lives trying to get power and they're always a little bit unsuccessful. Like even with Trump, like Trump is a little bit unsuccessful. He spends his whole time trying to get it and he looks effective, but he's a little bit unsuccessful. And you can tell that because he's so wrapped up in the judicial system, right? So, like, he's trying, kinda, but he's not fully there. Thank you for this chat. I'm agreeing with a lot and seeing in an observing way. A lot of hand holding going on tonight. That's why I've been trying to tell people to read The Iceman's Inheritance. The insecurities are deep in a culture. Oh my gosh, you guys. Okay, now I gotta. Iceman's Inheritance. Oh, it's a book. Prehistoric sources of Western man's racism, sexism, and aggression. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Thank you. You blew my mind. I'm so used to staying quiet out of fear of people not getting it, but you're right. I feel like I needed to hear that. You're welcome, sweetie. That was something I needed to hear. I got super called out. It was like 2 weeks ago, and I was like, damn. Like, yeah, like you're right, like type of thing. Like, damn. But it's a gift. And everyone's a gift too, right? Like everyone is a gift. Like, but what happens is that you get the insecurities of people who have forgotten their gift. Maybe throughout their experiences, people eventually convince themselves that they weren't the gift or they were disempowered, right? Or maybe they just were never told or maybe never reminded. And so they don't then necessarily have an ability to then nurture the gift in you. And a lot of the journey is like I say that spirituality is like the journey of like remembering. It's the journey of truth. It's just remembering like what you are. But once you remember that like you are a gift and you are inherently the gift because you're source, right? Then I think it puts a very different spin on how you allow yourself to just to show up in life, right? Because everything you're doing it from a source perspective. Like for example, like some people just have really great natural leadership abilities, right? But then what happens is then in our society, because people are insecure and they're graspy and they want power, they'll then try to convince you that like you're not a leader, you're really bossy, right? So they'll start throwing all these other labels on it because you're a mirror to them and they look at you and go, I wish I could do what that person did to be able to stand up so naturally, to speak, to be whatever, to make decisions, whatever the issue is they have with you, right? And then they go and then they start throwing dirt on your flowers. And then you start to think that your natural ability to lead, which is a natural ability because you're source, you're the creator. So it's everyone's natural ability to lead. Because why wouldn't the source lead? I mean, you're talking about the energy that created worlds. It can lead a couple projects. You know what I mean? But then we forget that, or it's like beaten out of you. And then so you don't have the ability to show up in leadership from the source perspective. You show up from a human perspective, which is like riddled with doubt and insecurity. And so it's a leadership that ends up being inauthentic. And so it doesn't resonate with you and it doesn't resonate with other people. And then you start to feel insecure about how you're doing it or why you're doing it the way you're doing it. It's because you're doing it the human way as opposed to doing it from the source way. Because if you approach it from the perspective of like, okay, I'm source, I'm the creator, and leading is natural to me because I am the thing that created worlds, right? Your perspective is different. You're looking at it like, why would I want I'm taking responsibility and accountability as a leader because I don't want to harm you, because I understand that harming you harms me. So every decision that I'm making with source energy from a place of balance and like love and understanding and compassion, because that's what I am. Like it even changes how you show up in those kind of capacities. I feel like those who are into astrology, astronomy, and history are not as shocked and understand cycles. Yeah. It's just a cycle, it's cyclical. It's a long ass cycle. The 3D is supposed to be a certain vibe in order to create certain actions and outcomes within certain people. It would be weird if things weren't convoluted and complicated. Yeah. But like humans are convoluted and complicated. What makes the whole thing complicated is that a human is complicated, right? Are we inherently complicated or are we only complicated as a product of this particular reality? I would argue that maybe it's a product of this particular reality because we are separated. We something happens when you go through the veil where you're then separated. Well, you're never really separated from source, right? But we think that we are. And I guess that would make us confused because if we weren't, we would always be following our gut. You know, like you see this in kids. Kids just follow their gut. Like as a kid, I don't remember having too many experiences where I went, "Oh, that was a wrong decision." I just followed my gut. And so I was always like in my truth. People would say, "Why did you do that?" And what do kids say? I felt like it. They're following their truth at that moment. They're just and so it puts them in a position where they're always in alignment, right? With themselves at that moment, always in their truth with themselves at that moment. And then what happens is they then do something that we feel like doesn't align with our society, right? Maybe a kid, they find a crayon, they start scribbling on the walls. We tell them don't do that. From their perspective, they were being what they are, which is a creator. From their perspective, they were creating. They were fucking Picasso. They had a vision. It was in the imagination. They were bringing it into form. They couldn't even help themselves. They saw a canvas. It was beautiful. It was white. It was eye level. They found a crayon, beautiful, and they're creating. And then we as an adult see that and we're like, this doesn't fit our 3D rules. Don't do that. Don't ever do that. And then what happens is that somehow that gets ingrained as a child and then you stop creating. People think that they're not creative or they don't know how to draw. Like, no, maybe you just drew on a wall at one point and then got yelled at. Maybe you do know how to draw, but it was then buried and repressed. Oh, also greeting from Callie, just joined the chat. Welcome. Very true, Shayna. The Mars opposite. Oh, you guys are talking to each other. As a mom of 4, yes, kids are always right on time. We are just trying to keep up. Always. Always. So anyway, that's all I wanted. I just wanted to hold your hand for a little bit. That's it. I just want to hold your hand. You know what I mean? That's it. We're fine. It's fine. We're going to be fine. It may feel a little bit uncomfortable. You have insight. You have information. You have a date. So move accordingly. Make your plans accordingly. Right? Like, start making your plans. Start plotting. Start scheming. And then, do that until this is over. I don't see it going a full 4 years. But even if it did, you know how fast 4 years goes. This country has done worse things. It's not going to fall apart. It's not the end. Okay? If it was, I'd be in a bunker somewhere. It's all right. You're all right. And all we're seeing, we are observing, we are observers. We are observing other people have an opportunity to look at themselves in the mirror and they don't like it very much, just like how we don't like it when we look at ourselves in the mirror sometimes. And what we're going to do is, as empaths, we're going to have compassion for their experience, but we're not going to absorb. their experience. Okay? We're going to have compassion. We're going to let them learn their lesson. And we're going to mind our damn business. Okay? It's not back to slavery. I don't see it back to, first of all, over my literal dead body. You're just going to have to take my ass out. Real talk. Seriously. No. No. Mm-mm. Take me out. I'm not playing with you. Just take me out. Ooh, from Australia, Seattle. Ooh, greetings from Australia. What time is it over there? What time is it in Sydney? I needed my handheld. I was so disgusted with these results. It's okay. Like it's okay. It's also okay that you felt initially disgusted. It's okay to allow that emotion to move through you. It's okay that that's how you felt. It's okay. But also to remember that sometimes feelings are not necessarily always fact. We are metaphysical. So sometimes when we're feeling like this trigger, sometimes we have to stop and say, what's causing this? Sometimes we have to then go observe what's happening, right? Observe the timeline, what's actually occurring in this particular moment. 5:53 in Seattle and 12:53. Ooh, in Sydney, wow. Is that a day ahead or you're a day ahead? 12:53? Whoa. I'm not sure if you addressed this or not yet as I just joined, but I have been hearing many Astro Pros talk about the shortages in food and other resources. Do you foresee this next year? So shortages, I always see shortages, and I usually see them in waves. I found over the years that they have a tendency to also be cyclical. What came through was just now is produce, like some kind of produce. I don't see it being something that requires stop, like it's not a toilet paper from 2020 scenario, right? Where you got to then stock up. But I see like produce, something about like oranges or apples, something that's round that you could maybe, I don't know if it's a pear, but I see like produce, but not like lettuce, but like something that's like very much like it's circular. I see something circular that you would like that. And just like occasional shortages of things like that, but then it being corrected by just pulling it in from a different supply chain. I don't see it being a situation where you would have to then like worry about it. People that are going to have shortages are honestly, real talk, the people that are currently in war. That's where it'll be. Tomorrow. Oof. It's not going to be to that point. I think people have gone a bit over dramatic. I do too. The guy has been in the seat once. Did anyone become a slave? Then did he change the Constitution to make himself king? I think, you know, people in the drama, like this is what happens when people get scared. People stop thinking and it becomes a dramatic situation. And then people are saying it everywhere. It's all over the media. You can't get away from social media. You got people like me telling people like you what to do, right? You turn on CNN, you got people sitting on panels saying these things. And then it becomes a situation where you're like, I don't even know what's true. Like, I don't even know what to believe or what not to believe, or if I'm going crazy, or if this is something that I should actually be thinking about. I'm seeing it pop up over and over and over again on my reels. Am I ignoring it? I mean, it's hard. It's all of this just misinformation, and people are bombarded with it, and you don't even know how to filter it out, which is why I actually started this thing where like I'm limiting my social media intake. No more than 1 hour a day, and the hour is cumulative. So if I like during my lunchtime start scrolling on Instagram, that counts towards my hour every day, right? So if I get to the end of my day and I want to like decompress with social media and I did 50 minutes during the day, I got 10 minutes, that's it, and I put the phone away. I've really like completely pulled the plug because it's just too much. It's just too much. It's too much noise. This is what I heard: produce and dry goods, citrus. If anything, it will be him again realizing that he can't do what he claimed he could do. I don't even think he needs to do anything at all. I think he can just sit there. I would think he would be very successful doing absolutely nothing. And I'm not even trying to be funny, because that's not what his role is. His role isn't actually to run the country. His role is to be a cosmic mirror. His role is to offer people an opportunity to transform if they wanted to do so, or stay the same if they wanted to do so. Trump is a very cosmic, like what's a good term? He's like a checkpoint. Also being aware of where it's coming from and what's in it. Do you see World War III? That's interesting, because I have seen World War III. I've seen it maybe 4 years ago. I saw World War III. Something in the energy, it has stopped it. But the stopping feels more so of like a pushing it back kind of thing. I don't see it active right now. So I don't see that the timeline picked itself back up. Do I think World War III is possible? 1,000%. 1,000%. And the reason why I think it's possible is because humans haven't learned anything. Like, you are doomed to repeat the lessons you don't learn. That goes for everyone, and that goes for anything. And there's nothing that's too big or too small. If you don't learn the lesson, you have to repeat it. Just like in school, if you don't learn the lesson, you got to do the grade all over again, right? Humans haven't learned anything. What I do think would be who it impacts could potentially shift. But I do think that, like, we are coming to a point where, remember how we were all talking about the great shift a couple of years ago? We're coming to like a point in that shift where things are going to have to be very deliberate. People are going to start having to make deliberate choices. So as opposed to people being like, I'm going to go with the flow and just let the flow take me there, people are going to have to make very deliberate choices about what to experience, what they choose to see in the reality, and what they choose not to experience in reality. People are going to have to start giving out hard no's, as in, this does not work for me. I do not want this in my reality. Therefore, it will not exist in my reality. People are going to have to start making choices about what they want their life to look like. And what you're going to see is it's going to feel like it's splitting, because you're just going to realize that the choices you're making are different than with the different from other people's choices. And the reason for that is because the majority of people don't know that they can choose. Most people believe that what you're given is it, that's the only option. These are the cards that I was dealt. And here's the thing. There are cards that you're dealt, but you could cheat. You can bluff. Just because you're holding it doesn't mean I have to know that that's what you're holding. Most people aren't going to know that they can choose. That's why people don't choose. That's why you see people, and people could be you right now, right? That's how people end up in situations where it feels like you're living a very disempowered life. This is how you end up in situations where you feel like it's out of your control, or there's nothing that you can do about it. That is everybody else's decision. It's not because that person is weak or that you're weak. It's because choice isn't presented as an option in our society. So people don't know that it's possible to choose. People don't know that it's possible to say, I don't want to experience that, and therefore they don't experience it. People are told, well, sometimes things are unpleasant. Well, sometimes life sucks. Well, everybody has to deal with this. Who's everybody? You're not talking about me. No. I'm not everybody, right? But people don't know that you can remove yourself from the everybody group. And people don't know that because no one told them that. Typically, all you need for that shift is the awareness that you can then choose. When you have that moment where you go, oh, actually, I didn't know I can do that, but like, thanks, Mystic Rainn, for telling me that I can do that. I'm going to go do that now. Then you start realizing you just start choosing different stuff. And then that's when the reality starts to shift. People have the lives they have because they're not choosing anything. And that's how they're like, I didn't choose this for myself. They're right. They didn't choose it for themselves. I didn't ask for this. They're right. They did not ask for it. They did not ask at all, actually, right? They did not choose anything at all. They just went with it because they didn't know that there was another option. So people are going to have to be like, no, that doesn't work for me. And like literally anything, like I gave the example earlier, like hard doesn't work for me. I hate that. I like soft shit. I like to live softly. I like to live as easily as possible. I don't believe things have to be hard. If things had to be hard, there would not be heiresses. Okay. If things had to be hard, people wouldn't have Yorkies sitting on pillows wearing Dior like dog clothes, right? Like, if things had to be hard, you wouldn't have cats sitting in cat trees napping all day. Like, if things had to be hard, people wouldn't just be born rich, right? There are alternatives. There's a lot of examples in life that demonstrate that it doesn't actually have to be hard, but you're told that it's hard. And you're told that it's hard from other people who were told it was hard. And so it's very convincing because they really believe it. And that person is probably your parent, right? So you believe them because you trust them. And you're observing them and you're watching them have a hard time and you're watching them struggle and it looks hard. And you're like, damn, it really must be hard. And then it like reinforces an ideology. I remember I used to think shit was hard, and then I went to college. Anyone ever do that? Like go to college and then realize that like bitches just don't be living like you like live. Like I'll never forget my first roommate. She was super nice, by the way, but my first roommate, and I say that because I have no idea who watches me, but my first roommate, I'll never forget. Bless her. She said to me, "How do you dry a comforter?" I said, "Huh? Well, you put it in the dryer." You can put a comforter in a dryer? She was like, "So you mean you don't have to hang it outside?" I was like, "No," you know what I mean? But she went her whole life prior to getting to college never having to wash a comforter, right? Like ease. Like you can get through things with ease, but then society will then look at somebody in that situation and then like judge them because they never had to wash a comforter. Oh, you don't really know what life is like. Why? Because they had ease. No, they know what life is like. They just know what an easier life is like. They know life. They just know a life that's different from the life that you had. And then society teaches you to be proud of struggle. Society teaches you to be proud that you're currently struggling. And then they give you participation trophies for struggling. And what that does is then can like reinforce this need to struggle because good people with work ethic struggle and they reinforce that. So then people think that that's the only way to live. It doesn't dawn on anybody that like you don't have to struggle, that there can be an alternative. And because no one says it. Like no one says it. Like if everyone collectively at the same time went, it would suck for industries. Who's working? That doesn't benefit anybody. So what do? They teach you a good working person, a good working man. They get up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. They leave their family because that's what men do in order to provide. And I'm going to hold your hand when I say this. And then that same company is going to have you out of the house the entire fucking day, away from all of your loved ones and the people that care about you and support you. And they're going to have you slaving away, making them money. Why? So they can live easily. They don't have hard lives. You have the hard life. They chose already. They picked one. And I'm going to tell you, they picked the one that you didn't pick. So on point, love your perspective. Thanks. I mean, you can hang it outside if you want that fresh air scent. Give that best sleep. You guys are talking to each other. So true. I let go and I learned so much over the past 15 plus years. And now I live an easy and soft life. I love my life. That's so beautiful. I wish I knew these things in my 20s. I wasted so much time being depressed. You know what's interesting? First of all, me too. Oh gosh. I was that girl. Okay? I let me tell you how dramatic it was too. Every day, had a bottle of wine. Wouldn't say I had a drinking problem, but definitely had an unhealthy relationship. You know what I mean? And it was like my playbook. I would cry all the time. I would work, like be at a job that I absolutely hated, and like clockwork at 5 o'clock, get off, go get a bottle of wine, and then go sit in my apartment by myself, crying that I was so depressed and that I was so stuck. I remember feeling stuck a lot. I don't necessarily always feel so stuck anymore. Even if I feel like I'm in a limbo space, I have an awareness that I can make a choice, even if that choice is to not make a choice. Sometimes our choice is not making a choice, right? At that time, I didn't have that awareness. And so I would oftentimes feel stuck. I didn't know that I could do something else, or that I can choose something else, or I could just say no, or I can just choose not to be impacted by something. So, like, let's say I had an issue with like somebody at work, I would be so impacted by that and like so upset. I didn't know that I can be like, I don't like this. I'm not interested. This I don't want. I don't want to. I disengage. I didn't know I could do that. I didn't know that I can choose to do that. And so it felt like life was always hitting me all of the time. A girl in college asked me, "How do I catch the bus?" I thought that that was so weird. Yeah. I mean, I remember, yeah, those beginning college was, yeah, that's when you realize that like some kids they just don't yeah, maybe some people grew up a lot more sheltered, but now I find beauty in that. I remember at that age being so judgmental. Like, you can't do this, I can do this. And then when I reflected, remember thinking, well, that's because I lived a life of struggle. I lived a life of survival, and it was like hard, and my mother lived a life of survival, and it was hard for her. And so everything I knew how to do was out of necessity. I had life skills because it was like bred into me that you, like, if you don't have these skills you will die. Like, you are a baby in a jungle, and if you don't know how to start a fire, you're dead, right? So I picked up life skills very early because it was like a life or death. It was clouded in trauma. And so when I went off to college and I saw like these kids who like didn't have some of the skills, I was so judgmental of them, thinking, wow, they would never survive in the wild, when they're all fine. A lot of them are married, they got kids, you know what I mean? It's just they didn't have to. It's not that it was a skill that they didn't need at that time, so why beat it into them? Like that person that asked you how to use the bus, she learned how to use the bus at the exact moment she needed the information. But I have more compassion now for things like that. But when I was younger, I did not have it. Respond, don't react is usually the best. The easy, soft life I crave requires money to buy land and live off of it. How would I achieve this without working my ass off? So it's about widening and expanding your idea of what you believe is possible. Is working your ass off a way to get it? Yes. Is working your ass off a way to manifest it? Yes. But does land sometimes go on sale at auctions? Yes. Where it's cheaper? Yes. Can things move for free? Yes. Do people give things away for free? Yes. Could you come into some money that you didn't expect? Yes. Could you end up buying a scratch off that was the scratch off? Yes. Like, it's about expanding your idea of how something can come to you. You're right. You can work your ass off and get it. And that is a way. And with your current thinking, that may be the only way it comes to you, because you're convinced that working my ass off is the only way to get it. But if you expand your way of thinking and understand that things move regardless of whether or not you work your ass off, right? Like, Property gets inherited all the time and people didn't work their ass off for it. Property gets stolen all the time and people didn't work their ass off for it. Property gets transferred all the time. People don't work their ass off for it. Property goes to banks and goes to government in foreclosure and they didn't work their ass off for it in order to get it back. And then because they don't really want to hold it, then they'll put it up for auction to get rid of it. And so you can get it for cheaper amounts of money and maybe you didn't have to necessarily work so hard in order to get it, right? You can meet someone, be a best friend, and they're like, oh my God, I have this idea for a homestead. And then suddenly you guys are talking and you realize it's the same idea. And then you guys go in and now you're sharing resources together in order to get it. That's another way it can happen. See, it's about expanding your idea of how it can come to you, right? Remember, you are the creator of worlds, which means how things come to you is also created by you. So if you're creating a situation where it can only get to you one way, which is by working your ass off, then that's going to be the only opportunity. It's going to be the only way it's presented to you. But if you're like, actually, I can also just let it come, or I can open myself up to these ideas, then you give it more room in order to manifest itself. And also, too, remember that sometimes things come in pieces, too, right? So, like in this particular scenario, like buying land and then living off of it, it could start small. Like you can see it, you may get signs that it's manifesting in like small ways where like somehow you I don't know, you end up with a whole, what is it called? Hydroponic. I never remember if there's an L in it or not. Gardening systems. You end up with a whole system and now you got a whole garden in your kitchen. Or maybe you got a garden in the backyard, right? And you're learning how to tend to the garden, right? And so you're living off your land in that way. Maybe, right, you live in I don't know your living situation. You don't got to tell me it's the internet, but follow the bouncing ball, okay? And let's say the situation, you're renting a house, you got a little small plot of land. That's all you can plant seeds on. So maybe you do, and you get a little garden for yourself. And that is you living off the land. So it's about expanding your idea of what living off the land means, right? And so now you get your start living off land. Now it's in your energetic field that's what you're actually doing. And then maybe you're like, it'd be nice to have more land one day. And then you get an opportunity when you're from now to years from now to move into a different property. Maybe the backyard is a little bit bigger, right? You plant more seeds. You're living off bigger land. And so also open your mind into different ways of how it can actually come to you. Maybe you can live off the little bit of land that you have now while you are also allowing, right? Not forcing, allowing that bigger plot of land that you want to buy to come into you. Maybe that plot of land isn't ready for you yet. Maybe the one that's perfect for you, someone owns it right now and we're just waiting for them to die. So it goes back up for sale, you know? And then maybe when they die, the family is so distraught, they just want to get rid of it. And so they cut you a real nice deal. There's ways you can acquire things. There's ways that things can come to you. So anyway, guys, I'm going to leave it there. It's been a long time. I've been on here for a little bit of time now. So, but check out the Fool's Guide to Tarot if you're into tarot. If you pre-order, let me know that you've pre-ordered so you can get a free ebook. Just shoot me an email with like proof of purchase. And don't panic. It's fine. Nothing is burning down. And I love you guys. And I will see you next week.